Most phones in the affordable flagship category ask you to compromise. Either you get great performance with weak cameras or a solid display with poor battery life. But the Galaxy S25 FE does something interesting. It feels like a true flagship without crossing that painful $700 to $800 line. Samsung has been refining this fan edition formula for 5 years now, and with the S25 FE at $649, it finally feels like they've cracked it. That matters because phones like the Pixel 9a and iPhone 16e have made budget premium more competitive than ever. The S25 FE lands right between them on price, but tries to justify the extra $50 by offering features you usually don't get until you step up to full flagship territory. Things like a telephoto camera, faster charging, and stronger performance thanks to that Exynos 2400 chip. Design-wise, this phone looks and feels like part of the S25 family. The armored aluminum frame and Gorilla Glass Victus Plus give it that premium touch. And unless you're examining it side by side with the more expensive models, it doesn't come across as a cheaper version. The bezels are slightly slimmer than last year, the camera rings are larger, and that icy blue color option is easily one of the nicest finishes Samsung has put out this year. The display sticks to 120 Hz, but skips LTPO, which means you only get 60 or 120 Hz, no adaptive refresh to save battery. Still, the panel reached over 1,700 nits in testing, making it plenty visible outdoors. It's not as bright as the Pixel 9a, but color accuracy and contrast are solid enough that it doesn't feel like a downgrade unless you're coming from something top tier like an Ultra model. Now, the camera setup is where Samsung tries to stand out from other mid-range flagships. You get a 50-megapixel main sensor that delivers sharp, well-balanced shots, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and an 8-megapixel 3x telephoto, something both the Pixel 9a and Galaxy A56 simply don't offer. The selfie camera also gets a bump to 12 megapixels this year, and image quality is noticeably cleaner and more detailed than the S24 FE. Video isn't class-leading, but still strong, with good stabilization on the main lens. If you care about versatility rather than just computational tricks, this camera system feels like a win. Performance is another big surprise. The Exynos 2400 in this phone is the same silicon blueprint Google based its Tensor G4 on, and here, Samsung actually outperforms the Pixel in both CPU and graphics numbers. In heavy multitasking and gaming, the S25 FE holds its ground without thermal throttling too quickly, helped by a larger vapor chamber inside. It's not touching a Snapdragon 8 Elite, but it doesn't need to at this price. More importantly, it feels fast in real-world use, not just in benchmarks. Samsung is also leaning harder into AI this year. You get features like Now Bar and Now Brief right on the lock screen. And Samsung bundles 6 months of Google AI Pro with things like Gemini Live and Notebook LM built in. Whether you'll actually use all of that is debatable, but at least it's not locked behind a higher-tier model. Software longevity might be the strongest selling point here. 7 years of OS and security updates. That puts it on the same level as Samsung's most expensive phones and even beats some iPhones. If you're planning to keep your phone for a while, that's a big deal. Battery life lands just under 7 hours in intensive testing. That's better than last year's model, but still trails behind the Pixel 9a and Galaxy A56. Where Samsung catches up is charging speed. 45-watt wired means you hit 64% in 30 minutes and a full charge in just about an hour. Wireless charging is here too, which is something a lot of mid-range competitors still skip. Day-to-day, the S25 FE feels like a genuine flagship trimmed in the right places. Samsung didn't cut the telephoto lens, they didn't downgrade materials, they didn't slow down charging. The compromises, like no LTPO display and just average battery life, feel minor compared to what you're getting back. If you already own the S24 FE, it's not worth the upgrade. The improvements are nice, but incremental. But if you're on an older Galaxy or you're choosing between the Pixel 9a, iPhone 16e, and something from the A series, the S25 FE hits a sweet spot. It gives you flagship features without the flagship tax. And that's exactly what a fan edition should be. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.